Minority communities, including African Americans, Hispanic, Asian American, and Native American across the U.S., such as this one in East Baltimore, have been left behind when it comes to investment from the federal government and the private sector. That's changing now thanks to a new targeted public private partnership investment from the Biden Harris administration, the federal government, and American businesses that want to address issues that significantly affect this community, such as asthma, lead pipe, cancer, by improving quality of lives and livelihoods of the people. Vice President Kamala Harris recently visited Coppin State University in Baltimore to announce over $21 billion climate finance investment for these underserved communities in America. I spoke with some of the community leaders and advocates that have been on the forefront of serving and getting resources to their communities. Hear what they have to say.
Invest in climate. We intend to invest in jobs, invest in families, and invest in America. And this investment is also about a partnership with the private sector. You know, my whole career, I have believed in the power of public-private partnerships. I've seen how much more we can accomplish when we combine the experience and expertise of the private sector with the reach and the scale that only government can provide.
Can you guys tell me what brought you to this event, Investing in America, where the Vice President Kamala Harris will be speaking?
Yes, my name is Kimberly Armstrong, and
I'm Lynn Pender.
And we both live in East Baltimore in two separate communities, but they are neighboring communities. And we have been working on environmental justice and climate change issues for probably over the last 20 years.
Our organization is called Baltimore Green Justice Workers Cooperative, and one of our focuses is to really work with our neighbors to really have some conversations and discussions about climate change and how it's impacting us and things that we can do to protect the community. And so this was an opportunity to come and kind of hear on a federal level things and initiatives that are happening so that we could be able to connect community residents that we're working with to be able to have a better understanding of how we can make the issues work for us too.
But also around workforce development, we also know that a lot of communities or organizations that work within the community don't always tie into underserved people people who need to change really don't benefit from a lot of the resources. So that's one of the things that we're working on too is around workforce development, around green jobs, and we know because a lot of the infrastructure money is now coming down the pipe, is that we're trying to be like a little ahead of the game because we've been doing this kind of work. So we also want to see them, not just the money come to our community, but also investments that come into the community for the people as well.
What are you seeing on the ground? I mean, you've been doing this, you've been working in this environment for over 20 years. Can you talk about some of the issues that you're seeing on the ground? I know affordable housing is part of this issue also. Many of the housing where community of color live are often impacted by various issues like mold and other environmental issues. We've seen this in Flint, and this is an issue that the Vice President has been advocating strongly for regarding removing lead from water, for example. So talk about some of this issue and why it is important that investment go into your community.
Yeah, so one of the things that I look at it from a public health standpoint is because I have asthma and I acquired asthma. I was not born with asthma. So I started to think about some of the things that maybe triggers. Pollution is one, so we can reduce our carbon footprint. You know, that makes the climate and the air a lot more cleaner. But then also when you look at indoor air quality, like around affordable housing, energy efficiency, things of that nature. So the one thing that I think that is lacking is the lacking of community education and really educating the community about how these things really affect in the climate.
So what can be done to bring more awareness other than what you guys have been doing? What would you like the administration to do more of?
I think what we're seeing happening now with the Infrastructure Act and some of the other policies, I think that's historic, and I think that hasn't ever been done at this level, at such a coordinated,
interagency.
Right, and I think more that needs to be done, and also connecting in with actual community folks, because oftentimes you think it trickles down, it's supposed to trickle down, but it doesn't always.
Okay.
And unfortunately, 20 years ago, we were talking about lead poisoning and environmental triggers that cause asthma, and in 2023, we still have those same issues that's impacting our communities. And so we really, we're excited about the progress that's being made, no doubt, and we're excited about that, but there still needs to be more coordinated efforts, and we see that with Justice 40 initiative, so we're really excited about that, but we need to see more of that, and we're excited about how that's going to play itself out.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you also mentioned, regarding this investment, that it will bring more job to the community, to your community also.
So we were recently funded to do a pilot where we're doing an offshore wind workforce development training program, and we're really excited. We have some amazing employer partners that we're working with, and that's part of something that's called the Baltimore Green Jobs Academy. Our organization is called the Baltimore Green Justice Workers Cooperative, and it's really an opportunity for community-based people who may not necessarily have access to green careers to get high-quality training and get connected to opportunities to help them get into a pathway of a green career. And so that's kind of where we're working on the ground level right now.
We were talking earlier before the Vice President spoke, and you told me you are founder of a solar company.
Yeah.
So can you, I haven't heard the announcement. What do you think?
Well, I'm thrilled. First of all, Vice President Harris is wonderful. I've long been a big fan. And I run, as you said, I started and I run a nonprofit green bank that is statewide, but we're based in Baltimore, and we provide financing for projects, solar projects, community solar projects that benefit low-income households. So we are thrilled about the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, and we can't wait for it to be implemented so that we can develop more and more projects in communities that have been historically disinvested.
These investments will make a huge difference in communities that you serve. So talk about some of what you're seeing on the ground and how this will improve the lives of the people that you serve.
So we have a pilot project, a demonstration project on the rooftop of a school in East Baltimore, and there will be about 150 low-income families that will save about 25% on their electricity bills through access to the solar power that is on top of the school. And there will be local jobs, and there will be a local after-school club for 6th grade kids at the school, and we will share the benefits of the long-term ownership of the solar asset itself with members of the community. So there are a lot of ways that this project and projects like it that we hope to build with Inflation Reduction Act money that will benefit low-income communities in a wide range of ways.
What got you involved in this sector?
So I have long had, my professional career has been about following two passions. One is social justice and one is climate change. And so this work brings together both of those.
Okay. So what more, I mean, you are part of you are non-profit,
Yes.
but also working with the private sectors and the government.
Yes.
So what more can the private sector do to support what you're doing and how they can support the community that are significantly being impacted? Because you are on the forefront. You're seeing what is going on in this community.
Right.
And how significantly, I mean, we are talking about today the weather being extremely hot.
Yes.
And it's not just regarding energy, it's about food security also.
Yes.
It's about so many other health issues
Yes.
also. So what can the private sector do more? They're interested in supporting your organization.
Well, there are a number of different ways that the private sector can get involved. There are ways that small businesses in the private sector in local communities can get involved in training their employees on clean energy installations. Construction companies, electricians. There are ways that major corporations can get involved by investing in projects like these in underserved communities that both generate solar and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but then also benefit low-income communities and families. And then there are ways that individual private citizens can get involved by identifying sites, buildings, parking lots, rooftops, land, where there might be an opportunity to build these kinds of solar projects.
Okay.
Patriotic! Saving the planet is patriotic!
Thank you, Senator, for joining me. This announcement that was made today, you've been, as you said, you've been working on this for such a long time. What does it mean for the citizen of Maryland?
This is a great day for Baltimore, for Maryland, and for Americans everywhere. We've been working on this for a very long time. I introduced the Green Bank Bill in 2009, and we had activists pushing, and we finally got it done. So what does it mean? We're going to be investing $20 billion to leverage other funds from the private sector to make sure that we invest in three ways. One, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions so we can confront the problem of climate change. Number two, making sure the monies get to communities that are so often left behind. And this is a very intentional part of this, the environmental justice piece. And three, we need to make sure the investments are self-sustaining. This is not like a series of grants where the money one day runs out. This is a fund, a sustainable fund like a green bank, and it has to be replenished as people repay their loans so more people can benefit. So this is a win-win for everybody. I'm so excited that after almost 15 years, we finally arrived at this day. And I do want to thank President Biden and Vice President Harris, because if they had not been there, not just as partners, but as champions, we wouldn't have been able to finally get this done.
For those people, I know it's difficult to deny climate right now, the climate crisis that we're facing. But there are still people, as you know, Republicans, that are trying to reverse this. So what is your message to them?
We're not going to let Republicans reverse this historic progress that we're making. You're right. They would like to defund this very important program. But we're not going to allow that to happen. And I know President Biden would prevent that from happening by vetoing any proposal. But it won't get out of the United States Senate. I'm going to make sure of that.
To have support for what you have been laboring for over
decades.
Yeah, for decades. And the significance of that investment in
It means everything.
In black and brown communities.
It means everything, and they're targeting our communities for investment. For decades, we've been overlooked and passed over and underinvested in and kept off the list of priority. And now we're at the center. Come on now.
Okay.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
right?